Hello, and welcome to the first episode of MaJake The Gathering, a show about deadly brews. My name is Jacob,
And I'm Jake.
and we are Magic players. This show basically is just going to be a show where we trade off brews of decks and legacy, modern, any format really. And each month we'll go ahead and release an episode of us, our stories of the deck that we played that month. So yeah, this first episode is just going to be an introduction, kind of talking about us as Magic players, as people, allowing you all to know us a bit better.
Yeah, see what we like, the things that brought us into Magic, just the things that we're into, just trying to figure out where we're going to go from here. And I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, me as well. I've played a lot of Commander. I played some Modern, some Standard, a bit of Pioneer when that format was something.
It's coming back. The Pioneer format, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts recently. And yeah, I think Pioneer is definitely making a comeback. And it's very popular, especially with the group that plays Pioneer. But they're making a big impact, I think.
Heck yeah. I also played a whole bunch of Historic when that was like a while back. I got to Mythic and I got like 90. I finished like 92 or 93%.
Now, was that best of one or best of three?
Well, I'm a dirty reanimator player, so it was definitely best of one. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a 3-month-old child, so it's hard to find time for best of three. So anytime I boot up Magic Arena, it's a deck from 6 months ago that is only played in best of one, and it wins games. So
yeah, we take those. Yeah, I guess we can kind of talk a bit about ourselves. You're kind of alluding to a bit about yourself. So how about you talk about yourself, Jake?
Sure. So a lot of people ask me, like, oh, so Jake is short for Jacob. No, it's actually just Jake. I don't know if you even knew that, Jacob, but hey.
I don't think I did.
So my name is, it's legal name is just, not just Jake, but Jake.
Love it.
I get I mean, I'm sure you get it too. Jake from State Farm, all those jokes.
Yeah, sometimes
Anyway.
it's the worst.
Yeah. I live in the Houston area. I'm an art teacher. I teach kindergarten through 8th grade art at a small school here in Houston. And I've got married in 2020 and have a 3-month-old baby now. So he's keeping me busy, as you can imagine. That's why, especially right now, we're going to start off this podcast as a monthly thing.
Yeah, if we do, if this does begin to grow, I definitely like to do more frequently if possible. But yeah, I think starting out once a month is like a good, hey, we have some time to experiment and kind of like fiddle around with the deck and kind of like get a good feel for it. Before we actually like put out the episode, so we have like a good idea of like, hey, what's this deck good against, what's bad against, like what strategies are fun with this deck.
Yeah, I think a month is a good time frame because I mean, I know that we've talked about, like, initially we want to say a minimum of like 3 leagues per person, so a total of 6 leagues with the deck.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've got time for more, I mean, shoot, just play them.
Yeah, I have loads of time. I'm a graphic designer, actually in Dallas. So me and Jake met in college, actually through a mutual friend who I don't really talk to anymore. Do you ever talk to Grayson?
Yeah, I'm still in a I actually brought him into a Discord with some Magic friends that I met in College Station, which is where I grew up.
Yeah.
So he and I still chat, not super often, but a little bit via that Discord. So
yeah, I no dislike for the guy. Like, he's a good guy. But yeah.
Yeah, you better not say ill about him. I did ask him to listen to our podcast. So.
No, yeah, I love Grayson. Grayson, awesome. Yeah, we met in college down in East Texas. we played. Actually, you were the first like your modern deck was the first like modern deck I actually played. So
Oh wow.
yeah, it was I believe it was Affinity is the deck that
Okay.
I like started playing modern with.
Yeah, I used to be a filthy net decker.
Yeah. I'm used to be. I'm still a filthy net decker.
It's a funny story about that affinity deck though, is that I actually bought that from a friend of mine. Um, he was like getting out of Magic, so he's like, "Hey, I've got this affinity deck fully built. If you want to just buy it off me, I'm trying to just get some cash for it."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "I'll sell it to you for $400."
Ooh, okay.
And at the time, just the Mox Opals were like $80. So I was like, "Heck yeah, that's a great deal." And I paid him in cash, and so I handed him the last like $200 installment or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and he handed me a 20 back, and he was like, "Thanks for paying me on time."
Wow.
And so
Great guy.
I got an entire affinity build for $380.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah, I guess we can kind of lead into what we like, kind of our Magic experience. I think I started playing. I think we were talking about this. I believe it was 2016 or 2017. It was like basically the beginning of Eldritch Moon is when I started playing. I actually got into it because high schoolers. I was in band all throughout high school, so I was a nerd. But there's these other guys.
Nerd.
Yeah, I know. Oh, you hurt me. There are these guys who like sit and play Magic in our like little connection way between like the school and like the band hall, and I was like, wow, look at those nerds playing card games. And then I was like, you know what, I'll talk to them. And then we started I played one of their standard decks, and I was like, oh, this is super fun. And so I immediately, like, that weekend went to Madness Comics here in Plano, and bought an entire booster box. Booster box of Eldritch Moon. And
Wow.
my first
Yeah,
experience
that's a
with Magic,
commitment.
yeah, right, was buying an entire booster box. And I opened up not a lot of great stuff, but
Yeah,
I did get the
that's
Emrakul.
typical box.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I mean, that's still worth money right now.
yeah, I definitely did sell it a while
Yeah,
back.
for sure. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that was my first like Magic experience, was buying a booster box and kind of jumping like head first into the hobby.
Nice. Yeah, I had a friend in high school as well. I think we were juniors, and brought a couple decks or whatever and was playing around, and I was like, "Pfft, the game looks lame. That's stupid." But then eventually he convinced me. He was like, "Yeah, man, you should try it out. It's pretty fun." And so I did, and yeah, never looked back. I'm the only guy from my high school group of friends that really consistently plays anymore, and I'm definitely the only one who owns a full actual paper deck. I mean, I own like 10 or whatever, but but yeah, so it started out in high school, and I went to a small private school, and so
Wow,
that
Silver
it was
spoon.
like, yeah, you know me, no, but yeah, so the administration eventually was just like, we got to get this game out of here. Like it's not good for our students. So we would just sit there and not even eat our lunch and just play. Although I did get our religion teacher to play with us one time, and he was like,
Hey,
"Yeah, it's a
let's
pretty cool
go.
game." Like, I mean, he was a cool guy. So if Mr. Adams, if you're listening, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we're gonna have him as a guest host here in the next couple months. We'll have Mr. Adams join.
But yeah, so I started then. That was actually 2012. So Return to Ravnica had just come out. So that was my starting point.
Heck yeah.
So I mean, that's probably one of the best times to get into Magic, I think, because there's so many like modern staples that came out of that era.
Oh yeah.
And so after we left high school, a friend of mine was like, "Okay, I'm done playing Magic. You can have all my stuff." But he was also like the richest kid I knew. So I got like almost a full playset of like all the Shocklands, like Abrupt Decays, Voice of Resurgence, like
Nice.
all the staple stuff from the RTR block. Like he was just like, "I'm done playing. Here you go." And so I was like, "Sweet, this
Heck
will
yeah, we
like
take
jumpstart
those.
me into Modern and all that stuff," which I started getting into Modern uh, in about 2016 because I finally had a little teeny tiny bit of money. So I was like, all right, man, let's spend it all on Magic.
Heck, I mean, that's the way to do it. It's like, Magic is, as everyone says, like paper crack.
Yes,
And I can't get
for
enough
sure.
of it. I typically mostly play Commander nowadays. Um, I did play a bit of Modern. Like I said, Jake, you had my first Modern experience with a deck.
I feel honored.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you should. I played in a couple of tournaments. Um, Never did like super great. I've had like the classic 03 drop at a Star City Games Open with Dredge.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This was after a stint of like not playing for like 3 or 4 months. I'm like, oh yeah, I have like most of Dredge built, and I borrowed some cards from some friends and was able to put the rest of the stuff together and just like completely fumbled everything.
Was that the one that we went to together? The um, Open.
Possibly, maybe.
I mean, how many opens have you been to?
I've been to two.
Okay.
But I think that it was not the one because this was with some of the guys from my high school we went
Oh,
to.
gotcha.
Yeah, I can't even remember the one that we went to. It that had like completely left my brain. The other tournament, I went to a local regional tournament, and actually, again with Jake's modern deck, I was actually playing Scred. I got second place. Was like about to win against Humans. This was like when Humans was like super popular.
Scred should also have a very good matchup against Humans.
Yeah, I had okay. So I lost the first match, just because you had like the nut draw. So second game, I filled in a couple more like board wipes and like Anger of the Gods, etc., etc.
The fourth anger from the sideboard or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And it completely just like shut him down that game, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm feeling great. Like going into game 3, I was like, I drew my opening hand, and it was like a Scred, like 3 mountains, Chandra, and then like 2 other cards that like were like, oh, it's fine. It's the Chandra from
Kaladesh.
yes, the good
Chandra Torture Defiance.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, yeah, cool. I just need to get this Chandra down. Oh, maybe it was like I had it was the Dragon's Claw. I think that was the other one in the deck.
Okay. Yeah.
So a bit of like life from that. So yeah,
Gain some life.
yeah. So I was like, okay, we're rocking this, and then I lost turn like 5 or 6 because I just did not draw another mountain, and I just like drew another Chandra. I drew like one of the big dragons, and I drew like a another like Scred or something. And it's like, oh, so like
Yeah.
I got him down to like with like the things I had. I guess I didn't get him. Maybe I got him like a couple points of life, but it was like as soon as I didn't draw that fourth land, I kind of just like tempo went all the way down, and I lost. So
Yeah, 4 mana is definitely very important in that deck just because, I mean, you got the Chandra, you've also got Koth of the Hammer.
yeah, another classic.
Big turn 4 play. I mean, that's why the deck played 4 Mind Stones. So that deck was actually net decked from Kevin Mackey, who won the Grand Prix. I think it was in 2017. But he was actually from the local store that I went to in College Station. So
Yeah.
it was kind of like, yeah, local legend wins Grand Prix with Scred Red.
Yeah, I was actually
so-
the judge there knew Mackie. Like he was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
like you're playing Scred. Like I knew the guy who created this deck. Like me and him were like our pals. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like that's a little
That's
small
awesome.
world.
Now, here's the main question: is was this pre or post whiteboarding of the main deck?
I think this was post. Yeah. So why don't you explain what that means?
Yeah, so I built the deck after Kevin won, and he wasn't super around much after that. I mean, I think he was just on to bigger and better things. But I was playing it at the local store, and people hated playing against that deck so much because they were like, all these dumpy mid-range decks that Scred just kind of preys on. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to tilt people even further. I'm going to take some 600 grit sandpaper to the black borders of all these cards. These $17 Chandras, whatever at the time, like just white border the whole thing. There was a Batter Skull in that deck, so I now own like the Stoneforge package in Modern, and so whenever I fetch up my Batter Skull, people are like, "What the heck are you doing?
What is this?"
So yeah, the entire main deck is white bordered, and then the sideboard was the black border, just so I could easily de-sideboard if I need whenever I needed to.
Actually, so I'm planning on putting this on like both like Spotify, Apple Music, and also like YouTube. So if you guys are listening on like a podcast platform, for YouTube, I'm actually going to put like references. Like I'm going to put like images of like the cards we're talking about. And so if you wouldn't mind, send me a picture of just like a couple of the white border cards from that deck, and I'll throw them up on the screen so that people can see the whiteboard in all its glory.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. It's kind of dismantled at this point, just because, and it's also the deck has transformed dramatically because it initially started out as just that initial, just Kevin Mackey Scred, but once what was it, War of the Spark came out,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm transitioning this to a modern or a mono red Planeswalker deck. So I put in like 4 of the Saheeli from that set, 2 of the Sarkhan from that set that turns your Planeswalkers into 4/4 dragons, and took out most of the creatures. So it's just like I think I still had Pia and Kira Nalaar in there, just because it's just a good solid turn 4 play that allows you to block stuff, including flyers. But yeah, it's totally transitioned into a Planeswalker deck, and at this point, I'm slowly trying to transition it also to a Karn the Great Creator control prison deck. So
Good old
yeah.
mono red prison. Speaking of walkers, I remember what I brought to the Star City Games Open with you, and that was your Tron Walkers deck.
Yeah.
And this was right after Stoneforge was unbanned.
Yes.
And so I basically, out of like, I think I played 5 games, like 3 of them were blue-white control, and it sucked. It was like,
You're like, well, not winning games here.
yeah, it was like blue-white control. I face a Titan, and I faced a Scape Shift, and the other one was an Amulet Titan deck. So I think I won 1 or 0 of those. the classic 05 Dream or 1/4 Dream.
Oh yeah. I remember that at that tournament I played Jeskai Saheeli. I had just bought my playset of Teferi Time Raveler. So I was like, all right, man, we're slamming this on turn like 5. Control game before that. Slamming this on turn 5. Turn 6, I'm just gonna land Felidar Guardian Saheeli, win some games. I did not really do that very well. I don't remember exactly what my record was, but I was somewhere close to 1-4.
Nice.
And I lost to Jacob Hogan in, I think that was his name, in a round 1 feature match. Actually, it was the backup feature match.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
I wasn't actually on camera, but I was the backup feature match. If you look really closely in that Star City Games feature match, you can see like a little part of my tricep.
Yeah, you get to see your back a little bit as well, right?
Yeah. Pretty sure I wore a purple shirt, so if you ever
out.
look at SCG Dallas in 2019 probably.
Yeah, I think it was around that time. How about we talk about some of the decks that we currently have? So you kind of talked about modern. You mostly have modern decks. Kind of tell us about your inventory that you currently have.
Sure. So I've got just this whole big box that's just my modern stuff, and so lately especially I've been just kind of like, what do I want to play this week? You know, if I'm going to well, I go on Monday nights, so it's Monday Night Magic tournament. I'll be like, all right, what do I want to build this week? So I'll just like kind of go in my modern box and just pick stuff out.
Okay.
But I used to have a thing with 6 slots in it, like 6 deck slots with sideboards included. And so for a long time I had Blue-Red Gift Storm, so that's net deck. The Affinity, which quickly turned into Hardened Scales, which I've now sold, so I don't have that deck anymore. I had a Sultai Delver deck, which I took to an SCG regional and went 4-5. I played for the positive record. I was 4-4 going in round 9.
Heck yeah.
Very disappointed that I didn't go positive, but
Heck no.
that's my first big tournament anyway.
Yeah.
So, Jeskai Sahili, like I just talked about, and the Scred deck, Blue Green Infect, and the Tron deck that you talked about, the Tron Walkers. So that deck is Oath of Nisatron. Play out the first couple turns like a regular Tron deck, slam an Oath of Nissa, turn 4, Nicol Bolas. What are you gonna do about it? You know.
Yeah, scoop basically.
Yeah, and then I usually have a deck box on the side that is just another deck or whatever I'm actually pulling together. Right now, in my box I've got my 4-color Yorion pile.
Nice.
So that is just, it's like Stoneforge package in there, the Sealy Rye combo, and it also has just like some grindy mid-range stuff like Omnath, the 4-color Omnath, and Icefang Coatls, and that typical 4-color fun stuff. Yeah. So that's kind of what I got going on right now.
How about you tell about your the popper cube that you have? We actually, last time we were together a couple months back, is like that's what we did. We played out your popper cube.
Yeah, so I've been building that for about a year. Just recently finished it in October. So I was super excited, and I was like, all right, I got to get all my friends that actually still play Magic up in here. I ended up getting 6 of the 8 people were able to make it, so it was a good turnout. But yeah, it's just popper cube. I completely 100% foiled it out, other than a foil snuff out, which Mercadian Masks is the only version of foil that it comes in, and it's like $110.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll probably never own one, but that's okay. And so I had already built this cube once in non-foil several years ago. I think I started that project in 2015 maybe, and so I built it up, and I mean popper cube non-foil was like, I don't know, less than $100 or whatever.
$67 and some change.
Yeah, it was crazy dirt cheap. So built it up and played with it, and I was like, you know what, I want to start foiling this out, because some popper stuff can be super expensive foil. And so I started foiling it out and whatever. I was probably 270-ish cards into my 360 card cube, and it got stolen out of my car. Yeah. And I was like,
did they break in? Like, did they pop out in your windows? Like, was
no? I think I was just an idiot and didn't lock my car, you know. And so it's probably like $500 or $600 or whatever. Every single unstable land that I owned was in there though. And I was like, man, that sucks. Yeah. An invocation counter spell. Some other just like nice fancy stuff that I had. But like I said, like $500 or $600. And so after that, I was just like, I just don't care anymore. But then, yeah, a couple years later, I was like, okay, I want to start building this cube again, just because I had so much fun with it initially, and so I want to start building it back up.
Yeah, I believe I brewed up a little. It was like a blue-red, just like spells deck.
Yeah, you and I were sitting right next to each other, both drafting blue-red,
making sure you got a couple of cards I wanted. Yeah, I got a couple of cards you wanted. Like,
yeah,
I got second place in that tournament. I lost to Golgari, just like mid-range good stuff.
big stuff. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
he had like the like 6 or 7 cost, like power and toughness equal to the number of creatures in your graveyard, and he had like
Yep.
7 creatures. You're like, "Psh, blue red can't beat that. Like,
I was like, oh well, I guess I just lose then. Yeah. So, like I said, I mainly play Commander. Um, I have 2 decks fully built. I have a Lord Windgrace, which used to be a Gitrog monster deck. I like this is like the first deck I actually started building back in like 2018, and I was like, you know what? I like black and I like green, and this frog guy looks real cool, so I'm going to build him. And at first, I built him just like any like new Magic player coming into the game. I was like, oh, this card's really cool. I'm gonna throw it into this deck, and like, oh, this guy's
yeah,
also really cool. Like, I'm just gonna throw a pile of cards into my Gitrog deck.
just completely void of synergies. Just like, oh man, green, black, fun stuff.
Exactly.
And then you're like, you like stick your Gitrog monster and you're like sacking lands for like no reason. You're just like, what am I doing?
It's like, oh, I had like a Temple of False Gods. Like, I had like mostly basics. I had like a bunch of just real bad tap lands. And so I was like, this deck is like getting me nowhere. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go online and see what else like everybody else is doing with this deck. And I stumbled across EDH Rec, the glorious EDH Rec.
It's all downhill from there.
Oh yeah. And so I'm like, oh, so people play this like degenerate combo. And so like I like go and like kind of like see like, oh, this is, you're basically like drawing your entire deck, pinging people down. And I fully built it except a couple of cards. And I like played it 3 or 4 times, but like, I don't know. I always felt like I have the combo in hand. I'm just like, turn 3 or 4. It's like, I'm not gonna play it because I don't want to, like, we just started the game. Like, I don't want to feel bad. Like, I want people to actually enjoy playing Magic. And so like I'll just like sit with the combo in my hand for like 3 or 4 turns until somebody just kills me. I'm like, oh, look, that was fun, guys. Like, we'll play next time. And so I just like didn't have fun with the deck.
Yeah.
And so I started to like slowly but surely just like depower it and make it synergistic but not too combo-y. Like basically didn't make it like a combo at all until I realized like, man, I'm just playing like bad Gitrog. And so I started like looking around and like seeing like what other like land synergy decks there are kind of in the same colors, and I was like, you know what, there's that sexy cat guy commander dude,
Lord
Windgrace. I'm like, oh, this guy like is basically exactly what I've been wanting. So here about half a year ago, I started like converting it to a Windgrace deck, and it's basically just like a value engine of cards that you want to eventually get down, like a Avengers Zendikar or like a Tatiana down or Gitrog, and then just smash face with big things. And so that deck's super fun. And then I have a good deck from my I want to say good friend, but he probably doesn't even know. I can for sure say he doesn't know I exist. Pleasant Kenobi, his Perforos Gods and Goblins. So it's Perforos, God of the Forge, with a whole bunch of goblin cards, and it's fun.
Sick.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, so I dabble in very, very casual EDH. Like I own one deck that's like 97 cards are like not proxied, are real cards.
Yeah.
And then I own like 4 decks that are like 98% proxied, just to play with my friends who do play EDH. But
yeah.
My goblins deck is not. I mean, like it's a sub theme because the main thing is actually just chaos.
Yes,
it's
we can talk
Stark
about
of Wrath chaos.
Right, yeah. We played that also last time I was down, and that game lasted what, like 2-3 hours?
Yeah, we were like, dude, it's 4 a.m. We should probably go to bed now.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what's that one card that you
Time Sifter.
Time Sifter, and
Yep.
your poor brother was playing my Gitrog at the time, and it's like mostly land, so it's like, oh well, your brother's just not gonna play for the rest of the game. So he
For those of
basically,
you who don't, for those of you who don't know
Yeah.
what Time Sifter does, it's a 5 mana artifact that says at the beginning of each player's upkeep, you basically clash. So like reveal the top card and compare mana costs. The person with the highest mana costs takes the next turn. If there's a tie, you just flip another card over. And it's exile the card, so you don't even get to draw it. But yeah, and you can imagine in a deck with a ton of lands, not the best situation to be in.
yeah, I think like the last hour that we were playing, your brother went like he took a turn and then just
Yeah.
kind of just sat there and watched us play Magic for the entire.
Now,
Like,
now
rest of
that
the
was, I had. I don't think I was even the one playing that. I think my friend Thomas was playing that deck.
Yes, he
So,
was. Yeah.
But I was playing my 5-color Kenrith alternate win cons deck.
Yeah.
It was Hug alternate win con. So I had, and if I had gotten an extra turn, I would have won. I think because I think I needed one more gate with my Maze's End. I also
Yes.
had I think three. I think I also had 3 Door to Nothingness because of that. I don't remember what the card is called. The 4-mana one that you enchant an artifact and on your upkeep it makes a new one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had that engine going. If I had just gotten one more turn, I just kept flipping lands too. Not any of my gates though, which was nice.
Yeah. Right. Good. That was right after we finished playing the Pauper Cube, and we started playing that at like 7 or 8
9.
o'clock. Oh yeah.
I think it was like 9 because I think you were coming in after work.
Yeah, I had to drive down from Dallas. Other than those 2 decks, I have a couple decks proxied. Like I have Wilhelt, who's like mostly finished. I just have like maybe 30 or 40% of the cards, which like big stuff like Mikaeus and a couple like the Lilianas, just like big stuff that's like it's like 20 to 40 bucks. And like I'm doing other things right now, so I'm like, oh, I'll put more stuff into Windgrace, and then I'm like, oh, poor Wilhelt just kind of sitting there along with all these proxies.
Yeah.
I have a Marchesa the Black Rose, like a theft / value deck, and then I actually a Reddit Secret Santa. Somebody built me a budget Talran deck.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, I've taken out a couple of the cards they had in there and added some like value stuff. So I added like a Murktide and like a couple better counter spells and a couple of just like nice value-y stuff in there. So it's not like ultra budget, but it's like pretty like low power level.
Nice.
Yeah. So
That's a sweet gift to get from a Secret Santa like that.
yeah, like if this is a call out to anyone who is like into the Magic like landscape, each year around Christmas time, I think they start at like the end of like I guess it's like mid-November. You'll basically sign up for a Secret Santa, and it's like, hey, like what do you enjoy playing? What colors do you play? What like do you play Commander, Modern, etc. So like what cards you're looking for. And one of the options is like, yeah, I play Commander, and I'd really enjoy if somebody like just built me a Commander deck that they enjoy, or like something that's like special to them. And so, actually, a guy I bought him all the lands for his cube, because that's like he was finishing like up his cubes and he didn't have any land, so I bought him like the Midnight Hunt and the Vow like black and white lands.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it was like that's why I messaged you. I was like, hey Jake, how many cards people need typically? So I bought like 60, 70 of these lands and like shipped them out to him. And then yeah, he got me a nice little Talran deck that I played a couple times.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So let's talk about some fun stuff. Let's talk about some of the punts that we've made throughout the years. Jake, you actually had one fairly recent at a modern tournament.
Well, okay, that wasn't my punt. To be fair, I'm actually going to talk about. I'll just jump into that one. So I was playing my 4-color Yorian pile that I was just talking about earlier with the Saheeli Rai combo in it. And round one, I sit down against my opponent, and he like plays Scalding Tarn. I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, blue red deck sounds good. So I like am playing, and he fetches up, I think like Breeding Pool. So I'm like, okay, maybe he's like Cascade. And then he like shocked himself and cycled a Riverwind Striper or whatever the big 5/6 hexproof whatever guy is.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, never mind. He is Cascade, but he's Living End specifically. Sounds good. Sounds all right. Got it. Cycle blue Living End. Got it. I lose game 1. I was like, oh man, that sucks.
Yeah.
Game 2, he's like cycling pretty aggressively, and like he's cycling the some stuff or whatever, and I'm like, turn 3, I'm just gonna cast a Saheeli Rai because I mean the Living End doesn't kill it. He doesn't have any presence on board, and I don't want him to be able to grief or whatever it out of my hand. So and plus it gives me scry, and I can get things rolling. So I do that, and on his turn, I think it was like his turn 4 or 5 or something like that, he goes grief, and I had the Felidar Guardian in my hand and the mana to cast it next turn. So he's like, well, guess I gotta take that. And so he discards it. Yeah, but he decides in my upkeep, he's like, Violent Outburst. And I was like, sure, man. Yeah, Cascade. And he like flips over, reveals the Living End. Like, all right, cast the Living End. Like, and I just very daintily pick up my Felidar Guardian, place it on the battlefield, and he's like, oh. Yeah, I lose because I was in my upkeep, so I was just like, go to main phase and do the thing.
Yeah.
So he just like he was laughing about it too. So he ended up winning game 3 anyway, so didn't matter. But it was just so funny. I was like,
good little fun.
Yeah, sure, grief my thing, and then whatever. And then after the match, I was like, hey man, what you should have done is just let me cast it, and then whenever I activate my Saheeli Rai, then you outburst because it kills the creatures on board. He was like, yeah, I just didn't think about it.
Well, now he knows whenever he plays against another Saheeli pile, because that's like a tier 1 deck currently, he'll know like, hey, I know how to sequence
yeah, for
this,
sure.
this combo. Do you have any other stories of like punting or like any like, I guess not punt, like the opposite of a punt where it's like you did something that's like, man, that felt great.
So the main thing that I can think of, and this is like a story that I tell non-Magic players to be like, this is what like nerd talk sounds like,
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, man, I was playing blue-white control against my buddy who was playing black-white mid-range. This was standard at the time. And it was like the Return of Ravnica and Theros standards. So this is just to set that into time.
Yeah.
I had cast a Jace, Architect of Thought, and I had ticked it up. He was playing the mid-range black-white deck, so his top ends were like Elspeth Sun's Champion and Obstinate. So like those were his top ends.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, ticked up. I'm at a -8, and I'm going. And he had a Elspeth rolling, and so I was like, I'm at a -8. I'm going to search my deck first. I'm going to get I was like, I'm gonna stack the triggers so that I can go get my Detention Sphere out of my deck, hit your Elspeth, and then I'm going to search your deck and get your only other Elspeth. And just for the extra sting of it, I grabbed his foil one.
Hey, let's go. That's fun.
Yeah. What about you? Got any good stories?
So yeah, I have a story of like me punting actually super recently. This was with my Perforos Gods and Goblins deck, and I was like very like single-handedly in the win. Like I had Genesis Chamber out, I had Norn the Wary out. I was like shooting at a lot of goblins, and then I had a Chandra, Torch of Defiance, underneath what it's the Hideaway Red Land. I forget the name. I'll put it up on the screen.
Yeah, I can't remember it.
Yeah, but it's basically if you deal 8 damage to an opponent, you get to play it for
Cast
free.
it for 1.
No, for free.
Well, is it one to like pay a red, tap it?
Well, maybe it's that.
I think that's usually how the hideaway. Anyway,
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Yeah. So
You get to cast it for very cheap.
yes, yes, it is correct. Yeah, it's one in a tap. Okay, you're right. And so I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna be cheeky. I played a card. Did I think I also had something that like doubled up the damage. So I played a card. It did 4 damage to everybody. So I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. I have to do just one more thing. But I had like 3 or 4 mana open. So I was like, okay, what I can do is I can just play a goblin, and then it'll do enough damage to play the Chandra for 1, and then I can like create more mana and like kind of go off. But I was like, oh, it'd be great. This board's looking kind of full. Before I get Chandra out, I want to wipe like all the creatures off the battlefield. And so I had a Blasphemous Hacked in hand, and since I had Genesis Chamber out, pretty much everybody had a couple mirrors. And so I was like, okay, cool. I'll go ahead and tap 1, play Blasphemous Act. And my opponent, who is playing Edgar Markov Vampires, had a cheeky vampire called Falconwreath Noble, which whenever it or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So I was at like 27 life, and I had the thing that permanents deal double damage to each player. So I played Blasphemous Act, and we're like, okay, everything dies. And this guy's like, okay, well, let's count up all the creatures. I'm like, okay, that's fine. It's like 16, 17 creatures. Like, okay, cool. I'm going to do 32 damage to you. I'm like, oh, no. And so, like, I was basically in the win because everybody else was at, like, 15 life. And all I had to do was just, like, play a couple more things. I was, like, firmly in the lead. And I made it to where I take 32 damage and he gains 16, 17 life. And so I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I scoop. Well, good games. Like, you have beaten me. That was a massive punt.
It was tough.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. I guess for like a good play, this was like when back in the early days, in like I think it was 2018, 2019, when I was playing Standard. This was right before Amonkhet. The Amonkhet block came out. I'm a black player. I like black is like my favorite color. I was playing black blue zombies because I like black. I like zombies. That's fun. That's one of my other commander decks I have. It's Will Helt. And so I was playing that, but it had the Valdarine Pariah. Is that her name?
Voldaren Pariah.
Voldaren Pariah.
The discard and madness for triple black.
Yeah. And
5/6 flyer.
Yeah, 5/6 flyer. That if you sack 3 other creatures, you can transform it, and when it transforms, your opponent has to sack 3 creatures, and it's a 6/5 flying, and it just kind of just takes over the board. And so this was like my first actual like Standard tournament, and I was doing pretty good. I think I won all my games. I think it was like a 3 round, um, 3 round like little thing, like tournament, and I won my first 2 games. And the third game, I was playing against, I can't remember. I think it was like an energy deck at the time, or was it no?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wait, yeah, maybe it was energy. Did energy was that?
Yeah, that was like, I mean, yeah, that was probably like Kaladesh.
Yeah, I think so.
Um,
I believe so. I think it was energy. All my standard kind of like
I remember playing
farms
Voldarin
together.
Pariah and Smuggler's Copter in the same deck, so
Awesome.
they were definitely in standard at the same time.
Heck yeah. Um, well, it basically came down to he won game 1, I won game 2, game 3. Um, it was like super close. Like I had basically just like board state was kind of cluttered, was kind of full. We were both at like I was at like 2 or 3, and he was at like 5 or 6. And I think he had a smuggler's copter in his hand, and I also had a smuggler's copter, so it was like kind of like a stalemate. It was like, oh, like I attack but I lose it, and all that stuff. And we were kind of like board state was like, okay, I played something past go, kind of that mess, until I drew my Voldarin Pariah, and I was like, oof, with Smuggler's Copter, this gets nasty. So I swing in with Smuggler's Copter. He blocks. I discard my Pariah for the madness cost, play it, sacrifice it, have him sacrifice his stuff, while it was like he was blocking my Smuggler's Copter, and basically made it to where it's like, oh, I have a 6/5. He has to sack all of his things, and he's like, okay, cool. I scoop, and so like I ended up winning that like small tournament we had, and I got a nice playmat that I have lost, but it was like my first like win, I guess, in like a Magic setting that wasn't like casuals.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember purchasing Smuggler's Copters at I think I bought a place that at like $18 a piece or something like that. I was like, okay, fine, I'll finally buy these things. Built the red black madness deck that was floating around or whatever, and like literally 2 weeks later, it got banned. I was like,
That's the worst.
so sad,
Yeah.
so sad.
That is the worst. Well, awesome. We have just like a couple or more things we'll talk about. How about pet cards? How do you have any pet cards? I know a couple of the ones that you're gonna say. Let's talk about them.
Yeah, I've mentioned several times already throughout the pod that I love a good Saheeli Rye. I will put that thing in anything. I built a deck once. It was a Teamer aggro deck. It was like right after Bloodbraid Elf was unbanned in Modern, and so I was like, I have a turn like 3 win if I go turn 1 Birds of Paradise, turn 2 what's it called, the or maybe it was turn 4, whatever, turn 2 Goblin Rabble Master,
Nice.
turn 3 Saheeli Rye, make a copy of it. I'm attacking for like, I don't know, it's like 18 or something like that.
Nasty, yeah.
And then the next turn, get a Bloodbraid Elf and like hit like another something else off of it, and so that deck was like really cool. And I was like, man, Saheeli Rye is just so good in like these decks that you just want to like plow in with a bunch of creatures, even if you're not comboing with it. Like, I mean, maybe one day we'll play the Pioneer deck that I brewed up. It's just a Jeskai aggro deck that plays Saheeli Rye as just like a copy my ETB trigger stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
So Saheeli Rye, love the card. I think it's way more than just a combo piece. And the other one, you actually reminded me that I love this card a lot, which is Platinum Angel.
Yes.
Which I don't think I told you that I bought a Platinum Angel whenever, like, as soon as I learned of its existence. I was like, I don't care that this thing's 7 mana. This thing's awesome. It's 4 mana, or it's 7 mana, 4/4 flying. It's an artifact creature, and you can't lose the game. Like, what's better than that?
Right.
And so, the first deck I ever put it in was a mono blue mill deck.
Interesting.
Because I was super casual and I didn't know anything about good deck building. So I was like, what? Like, my problem with mill is that I keep dying before I get to mill them out. So I'm just gonna put this 7 mana 4/4 flyer that won't let me lose the game in my mill deck, and then I can just like not die.
You'll always be able to mill the other player out.
Which is even better, that the fact that I lost to my own Platinum Angel when I was playing a Jeskai turns deck. It was basically like Gideon of the Trials, the one that lets you not lose the game.
Yes.
And then its turn spells were just Glorious End to like end the turn in your opponent's upkeep, and then Chance for Glory, which is just the words on the card say your creatures gain indestructible, period, end of sentence. Like, not until end of turn, it's just they gain indestructible, because because you're supposed to die in your next end step anyway.
Yeah.
But if you have a Platinum Angel on the field, then your Platinum Angel is indestructible.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about that? And so, but I was playing against Mill, and the main way to get the Platinum Angel, I had 2 in the deck, and they were the only creatures, and they were the only artifact. So it was, what was the name of the card? Madcap Experiment.
Yes.
That was the card that got it. So, I'd go to a negative life total or whatever. It's the bottom 2 cards in my deck. But then I'd have the Platinum Angel in play, so I don't lose. And then I start taking turns with the turn spells.
Yes.
Anyway, so I was against Mill. I think I was at a negative life total. They milled me out completely, and I was like, I got this Platinum Angel, yo, I'm chill. I attacked, and he goes, oh, I totally forgot that the Shelldock Isle, I can cast this other part of the deck, or of the card, because he was playing Breaking and Entering, and he was like, I'm going to cast Entering, and I'm going to get your Platinum Angel, and I'll block.
Oh, no.
And so I died, we just traded our Platinum Angels, and I died in my draw step.
That's great. I love that.
That was probably my biggest punt. But yeah, Platinum Angel is definitely one of my pet cards. What about you? What are some of your favorite cards?
So this one actually is a deep pool. So this is actually a deck that I've tried to create many times and always have failed because it's such a bad card. But I love it. It's Lord of Treasurehorn. He is Grixis, 4 mana, a summon legend. When Lord of Treasurehorn comes into play, pay 2 life and sacrifice 2 creatures, and target opponent draws 2 cards. And basically effects that can prevent or redirect damage cannot. So you can't lose. You can't prevent the pay 2 life clause.
Hey, Jacob.
What's up?
That sounds like a bad card.
You know what? It is a real bad card. Like, it is horribly bad. And the reason I actually bought this is because growing up, I guess not growing up, but getting into Magic, you hear about something called the reserve list. And, like, you look at reserve list cards, and you got, like, Black Lotus. You got Tolarian College. You got Gaia's Cradle. You got all these fantastic cards. And I was like, you know what? I want to have a reserve list card. I want to be one of those cool guys that buys a reserve list card. 20 years down the road, this card's worth $10,000. And so I was like, cool.
Heck yeah, this on the reserve list, this is going to be worth money.
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to look at the reserve list cards and then find one that I like. And I like zombies. And so I was like, looking through it. Bam, this guy. 10-4, 10 attack, 4 life. Like, that's insane. Like, my like first Magic the Gathering experience, like, mine is like, man, this card is awesome. Like, forget about all the downsides. He can hit for 10 damage, and he costs 4 mana. Like, that's insane. And so I'm like, yeah, we'll build a deck. We'll put this guy as a commander, and we will like just destroy everybody with his reserve list. Super awesome card. I played him like 3 or 4 times, and only got to cast him once because you have to sacrifice 2 creatures, and so it's like you're trying to think, okay, do you play him as a like a Voltron commander, or do you build him as like an Aristocrats commander, or like do you build him as like a group hug deck or like a group slug deck? Like putting this deck together is, again, a new player into Magic. I kind of just like threw the cards that I had into a deck and it was like, man, this thing's gonna kick ass.
Oh yeah, just Grixis cards I own.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. All the comments that I got from Amonkhet, and like all my like, oh, I got this one rare, and like it does, when it enters the battlefield, it does 2 damage to somebody. Like, yeah, this is awesome.
Heck yeah.
And so yeah, what's up?
Funny enough, you are not the first player that I've sat down. I've never played against that deck with you, but I have sat down against a Lord Tressorhorn, or whatever his name is, deck before, and he killed me with a Tainted Strike. So, it can work.
Let's go. He currently resides in my Marchesa deck right now.
Okay.
So he still has a home. I actually, when I played her last, I was able to cast him, and it's always fun where it's like, okay, guys, now this is gonna blow your mind. Like, look out for this card, and then you slam it down, and everyone's like, what the heck is this horrible?
You're like, okay, so you have traded off some zombies probably, and does he discard cards? I can't remember.
No,
he's got so much text that downside.
He does not. Thankfully.
just a lot of downsides, and you're like, sure, whatever, and then they're like, kill it.
Yeah, he has regenerate, so
okay,
you can't kill him super easily. But the next player played a Toxic Deluge, and he immediately died.
Pay 4, get rid of your 10 power creature.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm going to eventually try to build him out again, since I have a bit more understanding of Magic the Gathering. I think I can build a fun Lord of Tressorhorn deck, because he's fun. He's a good guy. He's a nice little fellow. But yeah, I think we can go ahead and end the episode here. This episode will come out in March, and we'll have our next episode where actually we'll deep dive into a deck list and kind of talk about it the next following month. So hopefully you guys can join us and kind of send us some brew ideas if you have any sort of things that you'd like to talk with us at. Jake, where can the viewers reach you?
Well, I've kind of got an Instagram. I don't currently have it downloaded on my phone, but if this gains some popularity, I probably will. But because I'm an art teacher, you can find me at Mr_B_art room. So, I initially wanted it to be kind of like my, this is where I share my artwork and stuff. So some of my artwork's up there if you want to see. But yeah, you can find me at Mr_B_art room on Instagram. That's basically the only platform I'm on. Reddit, you can find me at, if you wanted to DM me on Reddit, it's Giant Panda 47, capital G, capital P. Yeah.
Cool. Kind of the same thing. I'm not on a lot of socials right now. I am starting up my YouTube channel again. I'll have a couple of videos up on there at Obi-Wan Jacoby on YouTube. Obiwon Jacoby, Jacobi. Have a Fully Cooley anime review, and I think gonna do either Smiling Friends or JoJo's next. Either one of those. So yeah, we'll see you guys all next month. And Jake, it was great to talk to you, and I can't wait to see what the first deck we brew up is.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
And hey, guys, don't forget to like this on whatever platform you're listening on. Send us a review. That is always going to help. It'll boost us up.
Yes.
Share it with other people. We're, like we just said, we're not on a lot of social media, so we're going to try to do as much advertisement as we can in places that we know we can. But mostly it's going to be a lot of your word of mouth. So
yeah,
hey, if you like this content, then yeah, please share it with people.
Yeah, and we really appreciate you guys just spending your time to come hang out with a couple of two art dudes who talk about magic. So yeah, thank you so much, and I hope you all have a great rest of the day.
See you guys later.